Good morning. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. I wanted to give you a heads up weather for the Ozarks for some thunderstorms expected later today. We are in a risk area. Let's go through the slides. So we have two levels of possibility here, and the reason that folks off to the southeast have a lower risk is because that's very much later on tonight. And remember, all these outlooks, when issued by the Storm Prediction Center, are meant to be, especially the morning outlooks, are 24-hour outlooks. So it's going to take some time for this level 2 to materialize, and I'll show you some images here in a minute, some simulated radar projections. So it's basically a Category 2, what used to be called a slight risk of all types of severe weather, hail, gusty winds, severe winds, and also an isolated tornado or two. On that front, we do have, again, this is the morning outlook, a 2% chance that covers pretty much all of the Ozarks. And again, this is meant to be for later on tonight mostly. There are some renegade storms that keep wanting to pop up here. I'll talk about those in a second. But all the Ozarks have that 2% for the most part. And then there's a little bit of an enhanced area, 5% risk up here around Nevada and then going upstate. And so that is the cold front that's coming on in tonight, or storms that are forming slightly out ahead of it. That's a possibility. If those do materialize, they do have a better chance of producing a tornado. And then the line itself can, and I'll show you what part of the line, especially later on this evening, has the highest risk. Let's take a look at NATOcast. They're putting the highest tornado risk, that same 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles up in southeast Iowa, northern Missouri, Illinois. I'm going on a storm chase today. I would likely start over here, though, right around the triple point. Maybe getting a supercell that forms out ahead of that, not exactly on the front, as it'll be overtaken too quickly to develop structure. But I'm just kind of going on a wing and a prayer that we get an isolated cell in that area. You could conceivably go over here, too. But I guess you could go here and then back up if I'm wrong. But this system is interesting in that I think early development, like 2 or 3 o'clock, might be possible in this area here. I have to watch that. Anyway, we'll take a look at CSU's tornado and hail and wind risk. The tornado risk is not really being highlighted too much in the Ozarks at all, according to what they look back at pattern matching, basically, and then take newest model data and inject it into there. Highest hail risk is upstate, as is most of the wind risk. So there is a threat, though, I do want to emphasize. So this is what the one, this is actually the HRRR, not the NAM. Most people won't care about that. This is at 4 o'clock projection, though. Notice we have some isolated supercells up here and possible supercells in northeast Missouri, western Illinois. Then you see these storms are kind of forming out ahead of it a little bit. Those concern me a little. Will these develop? I don't know what would force them into existence, but I will say that if something can come along, some sort of undetected disturbance, something that can weaken things and cause some of these storms to pop up, they could be severe. And I want to show you that at 6 o'clock, there's a smattering of them around. Now, this model is saying they're there. It also does not really indicate a very strong possibility these are supercells, because if there were, then we would have a little tag on here that would show that the updraft is rotating. I don't see that. So, yeah, we'll just keep an eye on those. That's 6 o'clock. Notice that there is a squall line forming, and that's along the front. And then again, we have, renegade storms out ahead of the line. There's one there. Nothing here, although a previous run did show a few. So keep that in mind. That's 8 p.m. tonight. And then at 10 p.m., this has all the signs of this kind of winding out, is what I would call it. In other words, the cold pool of air, the rush of wind, I can just tell by the signature, is dominating here. So these cells, wind producers, maybe some hail in some of the stronger cells like that one. That's 10 p.m. So this area right here in the Ozarks traditionally is the one that has to be watched, because the front's cutting through here. We get some sort of trough of low pressure or dry line forming there. I just want to show you, and just this architecture is so familiar to me. So we have Boeing segments. See how that, you can almost see it right there. But this area right here is the one I would watch. This is midnight finally. And we even had a renegade storm out here. And again, the upper level wind profile actually gets better at night, but the front is advancing pretty quick too. So this area right here might be something to watch for overnight tonight. But again, eventually they will be overtaken by the front as well. So that's my summary for what's going on here in the Ozarks. As you can see by the timing, unless some of those random storms pop up in the late afternoon, like 4 to 6, we have quite a while to wait quite some time before these really get into the Ozarks. What you're looking at is midnight for Springfield, basically, maybe a little bit before. Again, discounting the fact that an isolated storm or two might form. And if it does, it would be severe on its own. So keep an eye on that as well.